All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. So, President Carver, members of the governing board, Superintendent Fish, Mrs. Taylor, district staff, and special guests, welcome to the DVUSD Award and Recognition Ceremony for March 24th, 2026. Hope everybody had a great spring break or whatever semblance of spring this may have been. Seems like we skipped it this time around. But tonight we're going to hear from a number of successful students sharing their stories and accomplishments. But to begin, I'm going to kick it over to the first of these students, our Superintendent Student Advisory Council members, Marissa Rogers and Celia Go from Mountain Ridge High School, along with their advisor, Zach Ditterding, who will provide us with the council's annual report.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to those here to support us tonight. We are here to discuss the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, a hardworking group that puts on an annual event called a summit. Let us walk you through the Good Neighbor Project. My name is Celia Go, and I'm a senior executive from Mountain Ridge High School.
My name is Marissa Rogers, and I am the other Superintendent Student Executive Council, and I am also a senior at Mountain Ridge. First, we'll be going over the SSIC and SSCC overview, which is what it is and what we do. Then we will go on to the summit, which we plan each year for grades 5th through 12th. We will then be looking at the high school group, which is also a part of our summit. However, they are separate. Then we'll be going over our guest speakers and our mentors who make this summit possible. And finally, we'll be going over questions.
The impacts of SSAC. So as a council of 70 devoted members, the Superintendent Student Advisory Council has had the privilege to elevate the student voice and ensure outreach to the feeder schools, maintaining the District A rating. SSAC council members identify key areas for district student improvement, designing activities that foster an environment for district growth, improves communication, and created impact on the 34,000 students in our district.
Saw something special in you, and that matters. Incredible impact that you guys are going to have on our community.
So SSAC, as you can see in the video, consists of the Advisory Council along with the Executive Council. We have a meeting every month in order to plan and eventually execute our summit that hosts over 300 future leaders ranging from grades 5th through 12th. Advisory members were chosen by administrators at their schools for displaying exceptional integrity, resilience, and responsibility. They're typically chosen going into their 8th grade year.
Let me walk you through our council levels. Our advisory encapsulates approximately 70 members ranging from grades 8 to 12. They work efficiently alongside executive members. They also have conversation on best ways to ensure learning at the summit. Executive members are ultimately selected from this council. On the executive, we have 2 members from local high schools for a total of 10. They're in charge of attending executive council meetings, direct communication with Mr. Ditterding, relaying information from executive meetings to advisory members, and most importantly, leading advisory, piloting activities, ensuring group morale, and skill building.
Next, we will focus on the summit. How the summit is made. The district office holds monthly meetings for the advisory councils with an extra meeting approximately a week before for executive council. In executive council, we work on choosing what we're going to do in the advisory council the next week. We used meetings to organize station groups and activities for the summit for our advisory council. And to ensure a lasting impact, the chaperones at the summit worked with attendees at the end to implement SSAC-inspired projects in their own schools.
So community and social culture. Taking our umbrella topic of a neighborhood, we broke that down into our 6 main categories of places commonly found in residential areas. So first up, we have what was Marissa's group, the post office, focusing on gratitude. They identified community outreach and what gratitude can look like. The hospital focused on teamwork, where they learned to collaborate with others to achieve a common goal. The courthouse used communication, and they solved disagreements through practicing methods of clear communication. My own group was the farmers market, where we focused on compromise, resilience, guidance, and negotiation to compromise for a collectively positive goal. The fire department, focusing on courage, knew how to overcome fear in difficult situations that commonly pressure all students. And then last up, we have the home, where they focused on connection. They learned persistence and how to build a reliable foundation when navigating unexpected detours. So we can see here on the left, Gratitude Post Office, they wrote cards for our first responders and then delivered them, so that's wonderful. And then at my group for the farmers market, we learned how to negotiate and how to use information to conduct those negotiations. The Courage Fire Department station shows a maze where attendees had to literally venture into the darkness and overcome fear in the maze. The hospital is shown displaying teamwork to help others. The courthouse is shown delegating. And last, we can take a look into home settings where attendees learned what it takes to build a strong foundation.
Next, we'll be focusing on the high school group. So the high school group is from grades 9 through 12. They focus on the same umbrella topics as we do. However, they may do different activities that will focus on the older students. So the first one we have is gratitude, where they showed appreciation and also focused on community outreach through cards. Teamwork, where they pieced together stories to show a greater message. Communication, where they focused on reducing filler words and also improving conversation skills. In compromise, students compromised to make trades and complete various tasks. In courage, they fostered self-confidence, empowered students to speak up, and collaboratively reached solutions. And finally, in connections, they encouraged student-led conversations and built cross-school relationships. Here's a photo that they have of courage and communication as students would walk through the maze blindfolded, while others had to guide them through to reach a common end goal.
Guest speakers and mentors. Pictured here is Mrs. Yanez, the Dean of Students from Mountain Shadows Elementary, having been an educator in DVSD for over 20 years. She was our keynote speaker. She delivered a speech at the start of the summit that felt both real and inspiring. She created that initial inviting atmosphere that we want for all attending students. She spoke on all the ways you can be a good neighbor. As an RTIB behavior specialist, she is a strong contributor to a healthy community.
And thank you to our mentors. First, we have Dr. Finch, our wonderful superintendent, who supervises both our SSAC and SSEC meetings. He ensures everything is on schedule, arranges materials and resources, and also assists us with group ideas whenever we're stuck and whenever we're having trouble implementing this into our Barry Goldwater High School. Also, thank you to Mr. Detterding, our facilitator, who is the main support for members, supervises the SSAC and SSEC meetings, monitors communication and outreach of fear schools, which advisory members are in charge of relaying the information back to both middle schools, high schools, and elementary school principals to make sure that we're on task, and also sharing with them our ideas. And then lastly, he also helps with creating lesson plans and notes from meetings. Thank you to both for making SSAC possible and for pouring into our younger generation. It is very evident how many leaders are being built from 8th grade all the way up to high school, and even those that have been attending the summits for years. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That concludes the Good Neighbor Project 2026.
Any questions for our presenters? Board? Dr. Finch?
We skipped Mr. D's story. I think this is your turn. Yeah.
Hello. So I'm Mr. Detterding. This is my first year as the Advisory Council Facilitator. This was a really cool opportunity to return to this organization. I was actually a member of the Student Advisory Council as a student. When I graduated in 2016 was my last year on the Advisory Council and at my last summit. And so now 10 years later, getting to come back and helping put this all together again was really special. So I want to say thank you to all the students that were able to help put that together. And also, Dr. Finch, Mrs. Taylor, Mrs. Prince, who were a huge support through that process as well. So thank you guys.
I was able to be down there. I try to show up every year since being on the board, and I can tell you, you guys are pushing the envelope even farther every year with the things that you try to tackle, the everyday challenges that today's youth face. And I think it's really inspiring how it's all peer-to-peer education and enlightenment. And you guys are doing an amazing job. And I just want to congratulate you on stepping up and taking this opportunity and giving it your best, because you can tell when you're in the room watching all of the different interactions that you truly are pouring your heart into it. And I commend you for that. So thank you.
And I'm jealous of your hair.
Thanks for sharing your story, Mr. D, because I thought you were students. So it's cool that you were in their footsteps in one time. So it really makes it that much more powerful. So thank you.
Okay. Would you guys like to come up and take a picture with the board?
Just thank you to everyone on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council for all your hard work this year. We appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Moving on to tonight's honorees, beginning with one of DVUSD's National Merit Scholarship finalists for the 25-26 school year. Out of a pool of 1.3 million entrants who completed the PSAT exam, the top 50,000 across the country were eligible to apply for the prestigious National Merit Scholarship. Of these 50,000 students, 15,000 will earn the title of finalist. To select winners of the National Merit's $2,500 scholarships and corporate-sponsored awards, committees of experienced professionals evaluate a variety of information submitted by the high school and the student on the scholarship application. Included are each student's academic record, the student's essay, demonstrated leadership, and contributions to school and community activities. Recipients of college-sponsored merit scholarship awards are chosen by officials of the sponsor institution. Our DVUSD finalists will compete with all other finalists throughout Arizona to earn one of the 2,500 National Merit Scholarships valued at $2,500. And now let's meet DVUSD's first finalist this year, Caden Zhang from Boulder Creek High School. Caden had this reaction to learning he is a finalist this year. To me, this award represents years of hard work from both me and my family. Ever since I was a kid, my parents would constantly encourage and help me learn and grow. Their support means everything to me, and I'm infinitely grateful to them. Caden's administration at Boulder Creek High had this reaction to Caden's hard work. Boulder Creek High School is incredibly proud of Caden and his outstanding accomplishment as a National Merit finalist. His perseverance and commitment to excellence throughout his high school career have helped him achieve this prestigious recognition and will continue to guide him toward a bright future. Congratulations, Caden. We are so proud of you. Congratulations, National Merit finalist, Caden Zhang. Front and center, go for it. All right. Staying in Jag Nation, next up is Boulder Creek High School's Heart and Soul Choir under the direction of Mr. Kirk Douglas. Recently, the Heart and Soul Choir, along with the Bella Voce group, traveled to Nashville for the 2026 season of Heart of America Championships. 14 groups performed in prelims in the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center, with 5 groups advancing to the finals. The Treble Show Choir Heart and Soul performed Rosie, a story of strength, service, and sisterhood, highlighting the resilience of women who have shaped history. Their performance shined, outscoring high schools from throughout the country and earning them a Grand Champions title in the competition's treble division, as well as a Best Vocal Caption. With this win, the Boulder Creek Choir has now gone undefeated at the regional and national level for the year. While the choirs cannot be in attendance tonight, as they are currently performing their Spring Musical 6, Boulder Creek High School's administration sent along these congratulatory words for their hard work. Boulder Creek is incredibly proud of the Heart and Soul Choir and their director, Mr. Douglas, for earning Grand Champion of the Heart of America Treble Division. This outstanding achievement reflects the dedication, talent, and countless hours of hard work demonstrated by these students and their director. Their performance, which captures the strength, positivity, struggles, and vibrance of Rosie the Riveter, is incredible and is filled with heart and soul. We are so proud of you. Congratulations, Heart of America Treble Grand Champions, Heart and Soul Choir. And next, we move on to a program within the district that is proving here to be one of the best in the state. That program is Mountain Ridge High School's DECA. To present this award, I'd like to call up Mountain Ridge DECA State Officer Karina Kapadia.
The success of this program and these students would not be possible without their dedicated team of DECA teachers and advisors, including this year's Arizona DECA Advisor of the Year. Lori Beth Horton, marketing teacher and DECA advisor at Mountain Ridge High School, was recently recognized as the Arizona DECA New Advisor of the Year. In just her 3rd year as an advisor, Ms. Horton has made an extraordinary impact on her students, helping them grow into confident and professional young leaders. Her classroom blends real-world experience with engaging instruction, and her students consistently stand out for their work ethic, communication skills, and readiness for future success. As a DECA advisor, Ms. Horton has been instrumental in elevating both the culture and performance of the Mountain Ridge chapter. She's mentored multiple first-year competitors to state championships and played a key role in helping the chapter become the largest in Arizona for 3 consecutive years. Beyond competition, she's strengthened relationships across campus and built a program centered on leadership, professionalism, and student growth. Her passion, dedication, and impact make her truly deserving of this recognition. Congratulations to Arizona DECA New Advisor of the Year, Ms. Lori Beth Horton.
One more. And it's also the Mountain Ridge DECA students are also making a name for themselves once again in their competition circuit. I'd like to call Karina back to the podium, as well as Ms. Horton, to tell us more about the accomplishments of Mountain Ridge DECA and another impressive group of award winners.
This spring, 150 Mountain Ridge students competed at the Arizona DECA State Career Development Conference against more than 2,000 students from across the state in business, marketing, finance, hospitality, and entrepreneurship events. This was the most successful performance in our program's history. The Mountain Ridge program returned from competition with 110 finalist finishes, 44 top 4 finishes, in the top 5 placements, 63 International Career and Development Conference qualifiers, and 24 test medals. I turn it over to our lovely outgoing state officer, Ms. Karina Kapadia.
2 Mountain Ridge students were elected to serve as DECA state officers this year. Shamitha Doki and Nithil Balamurgan were elected as Arizona DECA state officers, one of the highest honors in Arizona DECA. It is rare for a school to elect 2 state officers in the same year, and they will represent over 6,000 members statewide next year. During DECA competition, students compete in 2 primary categories: prepared events, where students develop written business plans, research projects, or marketing campaigns over several months and present them to industry judges, and role play events. Students compete a 100 question-based business exam and compete in real-world case study scenarios, presenting solutions to business professionals. Earning first place in the 2026 Arizona State Champions for Career Development and Business Service Operation Research, congratulations Shravya Devi, Grishma Subham, and Dhriti Singamaneni from Mountain Ridge High School. Team member Shravya Devi had this reaction to the team's big state championship win. Winning first place in Business Services Operations Research at DECA State with my partners Shravya Devi and Grishma Subham has meant so much to me. It reflects all the hard work, patience, and dedication we put into our project together. This achievement has strengthened our confidence and teamwork. We are so excited to represent our school and compete at ICDC in Atlanta. Congratulations, DECA State champions Shravya Devi, Grishma Subham, and Dhriti Singamaneni. Next, earning a solo state championship in business services marketing is Avyuth Komala. He had this reaction to his win. This award means a lot to me because it shows that my hard work paid off and it motivates me to keep on improving. It's also helped me grow my confidence in presenting and competing, and I'm excited to keep building my skills in business and marketing. Congratulations, DECA State Champion Avyuth Komala.
Because I think he wants him to come at the end. Just keep going. If they come, that's great. Just pause. Be more clear. Do it great. Your brother. He's going. All right, go Rich.
Our next awardees for their state championship in career development and buying and merchandising operations research is Arnav Patel and Yashita Vatsavai. The team had this to say about their accomplishment. Winning isn't about beating others, it's a reflection of the work, time, and effort invested. More than victory itself, the knowledge gained throughout the journey is far more rewarding than any prize. Congratulations, DECA State Championship champions Arnav Patel and Yashita Vatsavai.
Next up is an award near and dear to my heart, the Community Awareness Project. Karina Kapadia and Shamitha Doki share with us. We're incredibly honored to receive this recognition. Working on this project has been such an amazing experience for all of us. It gave us the opportunity to collaborate with inspiring individuals and make a meaningful impact on our community. We would especially like to thank Acing Autism Peoria and all of the volunteers who supported us along the way. This project would not have been possible without their dedication, time, and passion. I'm super proud of these ladies. We're going to let Karina pass her award off to her mom and come back and announce a little more.
Next tonight is another group making an impact with their community giving project. This team took home a state championship for their work. Churan Kaushik, Arvedi Anish Padiyar, and Itra Pandey had this reflection on their work and this year's win. Thank you for recognizing our team for earning first place in the community giving project at the DECA State Conference. We're truly grateful for the opportunity to represent our school and the Deer Valley Unified School District through our initiative, Autism Bringing Change. As we continue working to grow this initiative and expand its impact across Arizona, we would greatly appreciate any guidance or connections the board may have with our local state representatives who may be interested in recognizing or supporting the student-led effort. Our goal is to continue hosting events, raising awareness, and making our school and district proud. Congratulations, DECA State champions, Charan Kaushik, Arvedi Anish Padiyar, and Icha Pandey. Next tonight is our DECA State Championship team in Finance Operations Research. Congratulations to Keth Padala and Amit Taduri. Following them is the state champion in Hotel and Lodging Management, Mia Parend. Yeah, that's fine. They had this reflection on their win in independent business plan. Winning this award has meant so much to us. We spent countless hours working towards this, and it felt great to see our hard work pay off. It was also due to the help of our wonderful advisors, parents, and friends who supported us. Congratulations to DECA State champions Riddhi Chalakanani, Mia Parent, and Aditi Val.
So Mia back-to-back won two things first place. So we're going to let her take her picture, and then her teammates will come up and join her for the next one. She needed a wagon at the end to haul all her loot. Now go ahead, go right ahead. Ready to call them? Yeah, we got it. That's right. That's the way it was at the conference, too. She's up, she's down. That was my fault. We could figure it out, but I think it's fine. It's fine. Okay. What? Go get another one. Did you get your certificate? Yeah. Okay. Take your picture, babe. Courage. Make this one cute.
Our next state champion is Bridge Kapadia for his work in Principles of Entrepreneurship. He had this to say about his award. Winning his award means a lot to me. It's proof that hard work is rewarded and I can do anything that I put my mind to, especially when those around me are pushing me to be better. Congratulations to my brother, DECA State champion, Bridge Kapadia.
He's a champ like his big sister. Y'all, I have to tell you, I asked him at the competition, I said, how did you do this? He's in my class, and I just saw a little bit of a surprise when he got first place. And he said, I go door to door and sell window washing. So if anybody needs their windows to be washed, he's your guy.
Our next mountain lions earning a state championship are Ayan Bhakta and Sandeep Alongo. Congratulations for their win in the career development and travel and tourism team decision making. And rounding out,
When you look that good, you gotta get your picture taken, man.
And rounding out our state champions for the Mountain Lions is Nithil Balamurgan. He had this reaction. Receiving first place for my podcast, Career Clarity at DECA SCDC, is an honor I'm truly grateful for, as it represents far more than just a plaque. This recognition highlights the importance of expanding student access to meaningful insights about their future career path. Through this experience, I've been able to connect with professionals and share conversations that help students navigate their futures with career clarity and confidence. I'm thankful for the opportunity to create an impact through this platform, and I look forward to continuing to grow its reach. Congratulations to DECA State Champion Nithil Balamurgan. The Mountain Lions also came home with several state runner-ups who will celebrate next. The first of these is DECA State runner-up for career development and accounting application, Charan Kaushik Arvedi. He had this reaction. I'm honored to be recognized by the DVUSD for earning second place in accounting applications at DECA State Conference. This competition challenged me to apply my accounting skills, solve financial problems, and think critically under pressure. As I continue to learn and grow, I remember precision today builds success tomorrow. Congratulations, DECA State runner-up Charan Kaushik Arvedi. Our next runner-up, congratulations to Pradyush Alamalakala, Ishan Pandravada, and Pranish Satish Kumar for their second place finish in the Career Development and Business Services Operations Research. Pradyush had this reaction to the team's win. Winning second place at the DECA State competition in Business Services Operations Research has been truly meaningful experience for me. It reflects months of hard work, preparation, and teamwork, during which my team and I learned a great deal about how businesses operate and improve. We spent many hours researching our chosen company by analyzing data, identifying key issues, and creating realistic solutions in the business could actually use. We also extensively practiced our presentation, refining our posters, our information, and our speaking abilities so we could perform our best. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity and for the incredible support from my teammates, advisors, and my family. Congratulations to Pradyush, Ishan, and Pranish. Next up, congratulations to runner-up for Career Development and Business Finance, Alex Naba. Our next DECA State Championship runner-up, congratulations Aryan Chand and Praneeth Kamburu for their second place finish in the Career Development and Business Growth Plan event. This team had this reaction to their win. Winning second place state championship in Business Growth Plan through DECA has been an incredibly rewarding experience. It reflects the time, effort, and dedication my partner Praneeth and I put into developing and refining our business idea. We spent weeks researching, building our model, and practicing our presentation to clearly communicate our vision. Through this process, I strengthened my skills in leadership, problem solving, and entrepreneurship. This achievement has motivated me to continue pursuing business and innovation at a higher level. I'm grateful to the support from my wonderful advisors and peers who helped make this possible. Congratulations to Aryan and Praneeth. Next up, congratulations to Yashwanth Koli Pakala, Anand Prasad, and Krish Vignesh for their DECA State runner-up for Title IV Business Solutions Project. Krish had this reaction for their team. Putting in long hours of effort into making our business better truly worked in the end, as we were able to successfully present our results to DECA judges. We wanted to show others that our scheduling company worked towards making people's lives easier to navigate through. In short, as a team, we're proud of ourselves in making an effort to improve people's day-to-day lives, not just in Arizona, but across the nation. Congratulations to Yashwanth, Anand, and Krish for their state runner-up title and Business Solutions Project. You still want me to say this or not? Our next student being recognized tonight, congratulations to the Career Development and Entrepreneurship DECA State runner-up, Pranay Chaud. Our next second place winners are the 2026 Arizona State runners-up for Finance Operations Research. Congratulations to Anish Muthukumali and Joshis Namula. The second place finisher, congratulations to Career Development in Restaurant and Food Service Marketing Management, DECA State runner-up, Yohavarshini Muthuvanayangam. And finally, tonight, congratulations, DECA State runners-up for Career Development in Sports and Entertainment Marketing Operations Research, Thanvi Nagabandi and Asmin Walla. Asmin had this reaction for the dynamic duo's work. This award was given to me and Thanvi for completing a research report on the local golf course. To me, winning was more than just a trophy or an award. It really showed me that the hard work me and my partner put in was worth it. The research process was challenging. However, it was definitely rewarding getting recognized at the state level. Congratulations again to state runners-up Thanvi and Asmin.
Hold on, let me say one thing real quick first. I realize this is a dignified meeting and stuff, but with your permission, I think we need 3 cheers for Mountain Ridge.
Do it.
Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip.
Okay.
And he wants to take a picture
Yep.
with everybody.
Before the board takes off, we'd like to take one group photo with all the Mountain Ridge students. So everybody come on up. Keep coming in, guys, just a tad. Yes, again, just the shoulders, there you go. Just as quick as possible, starting over here. Stay right there. All right, everybody, get up. And in appreciation for her hosting duties, I'd like to ask if we could get also one photo of the Kapadia siblings up here, as Karina is escaping. Karina, Karina, we got a picture of you and your brother? We got a picture of you and your brother? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much to Karina and to Ms. Horton for co-hosting today. Thanks to everyone for coming out to tonight's awards and recognition ceremony. The regular meeting will start at approximately 7 o'clock. Have a great evening.
Regular Governing Board meeting Tuesday, March 24th, 2026.
I'd like to call tonight's meeting of the regularly scheduled Deer Valley Governing Board meeting to order at 7 p.m. Let the roll call show that all members are present, save for Ms. Simicek, who is by phone. Yes. And Dr. Zerbach, are you in the room? Can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence? Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Didn't hear.
I'm voting too online.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. First item of business tonight, item 3A, National Board Certification Teacher Update. Ms. DeMarteau.
Thank you, President Carver, Vice President Pack, Dr. Finch, members of the board. Tonight we have an update on our National Board Certification Program in the Deer Valley Unified School District. I have Stephanie Eubank to my right here, who is our Teacher Preparation Program Coordinator, and Alexis LaDuca, who is an English teacher at Mountain Ridge, and she is one of our Teacher Preparation Program Coordinators as well. All right, so to start with, hold on. Okay. The National Board Certified Program, as a reminder, it's directly aligned to the Deer Valley mission and core values of providing educational opportunities for every learner. The National Board Certification is all about going beyond the state licensure, evaluating teachers and school counselors by national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. There are 4 components to the National Board Certification, which are content knowledge, differentiation and instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, and the effective and reflective practitioner. Why National Board? We've talked about this for a few years now, and we know that it is the highest professional teaching certification in the nation. It is designed to deepen our teaching practices, and research shows us that students who are students of nationally board certified teachers have 1 to 2 months of growth in addition to their peers in classrooms of non-national board certified teachers. So we're going to take a little bit of a look about what's been going on in Deer Valley. Yeah. Alexis.
And one of the things that we are really excited about is that everything National Board is self-reflective. It's a rigorous study on the teachers themselves. And we really just wanted to share why some of our newest candidates are choosing National Board Certification. And we love that it's all about professional excellence and that growth that they go through as they pursue their different components. So very exciting. Every year in December, we get our newest candidates. We have 4 brand new NBCTs, which is incredibly exciting to see that growth. We recently celebrated them at our Celebration of Accomplished Teaching. And these are brand new NBCTs. And on the next slide, we have our newly maintained NBCTs. We have 5 of those. And the exciting thing about this is that National Board Certification is a process that continues. It's not a certification you receive forever. It's for 5 years, and then they are able to go through and recertify, and so that's what our newly maintained NBCTs have done. So they have continued their growth and self-study and reflection.
All right, so our established goal was to have 60 NBCTs in the district by December of 2026. So you can kind of see in this chart where we are right now. We're at 41 as of today. We have 41 nationally board certified teachers in the district. So even though it looks like we're gonna miss the moon on our very big and audacious goal here, we're still definitely landing in amongst the stars. Because when you look at where we started in 2017, we only had 5 NBCTs in the district and only 2 national board candidates, and Alexis was one of them. Now we have 29 candidates that are in pursuit of this very accomplished and achieving this huge kind of milestone in their career. So while we are unlikely to meet this goal of having 60 NBCTs by next December, we are definitely going to triple our numbers from just the last decade. So that's pretty exciting. So let's take a look at our new goal. Our revised strategic goal maintains that same audacity and aligns with our current trajectory. So if we maintain our current momentum by 2026, 2027, we will have tripled the number of NBCTs in the district over the last 10 years. So we now aim in the next 5 years, by 2030, 2031, to grow to at least 70 NBCTs by building and sustaining a pipeline of 35 to 40 candidates each year. And we believe that with our current trajectory, the current way that we're going to be able to do this without any issue. I mean, after all, if in the last 10 years we were able to grow by 300%, I think in the next 5, a 75% growth is pretty obtainable. It's kind of fun to just kind of look and see where our NBCTs are and where our candidates are. And so this just kind of shows you a quick snapshot of where they are in the district. But here's the stuff that I think is super fun. Nationally, Arizona ranks 12 for the number of NBCTs, which is pretty cool when you consider where Arizona usually lands when we do educational comparisons. To be 12th in the nation is pretty cool. So I'm sure that you're not surprised then that DVUSD is exceeding what we do in Arizona. In DVUSD, we are ranked 4th in the state for the number of NBCTs, and it's pretty cool because last year we were 8th, and so to move up to number 4, that's pretty cool. And we have the 5th highest number of candidates in the state of Arizona. So what does the NBCT network do here in Deer Valley? Our network is very active and focused on candidate support. We have 5 CSPs, or candidate support providers, that are providing that support to our 29 candidates who are attending monthly cohort meetings. We also host a variety of informational meetings, workshops, and a summer pre-candidacy course that is designed to help build and maintain that pipeline. Additionally, we have a very concerted effort in the last couple of years to really support our NBCTs who are pursuing their maintenance of certification as they kind of navigate their way through that process. Oops, I went too far. All right, so National Board has a cost to it, right? Each component costs $475, and we're really proud to be able to say that our network is completely self-sustaining. As a result of our generous sponsors, Discover, DVEF, and our partnership with Arizona K-12 Center, our candidates in Deer Valley are able to pursue National Board certification without any costs to themselves. There is an annual $75 registration fee, and that's the only thing that the candidate has to pay for out of pocket. Additionally, because of our connection with Discover, Deer Valley is able to cover another component for a candidate if they need to take a second swing at that component in order to receive an achieving score. So we're really able to provide a lot of funding support that helps our candidates. And then additionally, we're able to cover the cost for 2 Saturday workshops per year because of this partnership. So it's pretty exciting that we have this. We couldn't do it by ourselves. And the fact that we are completely self-sustaining really speaks to the work that we're doing. So next steps, our immediate focus is on what's coming up. We have a Saturday workshop in April. trying to get our candidates ready to submit on May 16th, which is super exciting. And then we will meet with our entire network in May. And during that meeting, we kind of go over the goals that we've shared with you tonight, and then talk to other NBCTs about ways they may want to get involved. Maybe they want to do a site-based presentation, or there's somebody that is in their circle that they want to tap on the shoulder to consider a national board for their own practice. And then we have a work day in May that's right before the submission due date. And of course, as I mentioned, in the summer, we're going to have a hybrid pre-candidacy class to be able to get the next round of candidates set up and ready to go right as soon as school starts. The other thing that we're going to have to be doing, Discover is going through their own organizational kind of restructuring. And so we need to be very active and in a search for additional sponsors that can help us continue this sustainability.
So that is the end of our presentation and our update. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
I just want to thank all of you involved, especially Ms. Eubanks. Your energy when I was there, when you're there, it's just like, I want to sign up. It's just amazing to see teachers. I mean, teachers are amazing, but those teachers that go above and beyond, it's a lot of work. And I'm just, so thank you for everything that you do to support those teachers. And yay, NBCT.
Do you want to say anything, Mr. Butler? Okay. Okay. So we're fourth in the state. Is that what I heard you say? What would you say is the biggest challenge to becoming number one?
I have been told the stipend,
stipend.
keeps
So,
us in the fourth place,
for
which we
those
do have a nice stipend, and we did increase it, but
increased it from two.
we increased it from, it used to be $1,200, and now it's $1,800.
And when
a
did
year.
when did that go from 12 to 18?
That was about 7 years ago.
Okay. What would you say the averages of those folks that are above us in the food chain?
Do you have 3,000?
So for those of us that may not understand what it is that we're talking about, am I to understand then that an MBCT teacher in the Deer Valley Unified School District receives an additional $1,800 for that certification as an annual increase to their pay? Am I understanding that?
For each year that they hold their certification, it's not an increase to their pay. It's a flat stipend.
Stipend, okay. So if it was Christmas and you had a wish list, what is it that your group is looking for in order to try to grow our numbers to more adequately hit our target of MBCT teachers?
Let's let the English teacher throw this one out because I'm really good at numbers. I think that it would be excellent. I'm not usually a number person, but I think it would be excellent to be comparative to our sister districts and be at 3,000 as well. I think that would be a great jump.
So do any of the three of you, or maybe Dr. Finch, I know Heather's in the crowd, Ms. Mock rather, where do those funds come from to give the teachers that stipend? And so based on the number of certified staff we have here in the district, what kind of increase would you need in order to get that $3,000?
Well, it would depend on the number of currently certified, nationally board certified teachers, including those who have recertified. So
Did you have that on a
we
slide?
have 41 currently.
41 times 3,000, carry the
On
one?
41
Okay.
times 1,200, right? The difference.
1,800?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much? About 60,000 a year.
$60,000. Is that something that the NST team could look at, or are we already past that point?
I will submit that request to Ms. Mock. She probably has 3 reports coming up.
Okay. All right. I just thought, I don't know why we'd want to settle for number 4 if all it's going to take is trying to figure out how to come up with $60,000. I mean, not to say we should just throw money around, but we constantly talk about from the dais how to find a better way to pay our teachers for all the work that they do. And if these select few are going to go out and go above and beyond what is required to just simply teach a class, I think the least that we can do is try to honor that appropriately. So I'd like to see if you're not too far down the road for upcoming talks, if we could see some numbers on that so the board could decide if that stomach. It's just me. But thank you for all that you do. Appreciate you. Next item on the agenda is item 4A. We'll get a presentation from Ms. Mock, but do you have a motion for us, Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2027 employee benefit recommendation.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bodfeld. Ms. Mock, do you have some information for us on this?
President Carver, members of the board, superintendent, and guests, yes, this is a repeat of the presentation from March 10th. Recently, the benefit committee started meeting and has come up with a recommendation for benefits for the fiscal year 26-27. The committee is made up of district staff members to include administration, Deer Valley Building Leadership Team, in case you're wondering if DVBLT is a sandwich or not, DVESPA, which is our classified group, DVEA, which is our teachers group, and myself, Chris Costanzo, our payroll director, and Jenna Moffett, kind of chair. Chris is the chair, but Jenna and I help out a lot as well. We also have staff from Valley Schools Management Group and Brown & Brown, help us with, try that one. He may have turned it down. Oh wait, there we go. Can you hear me now? Okay. But anyway, we'll move past that. The committee hasn't changed. Okay. We started meeting in November. We had meetings in January, February, and March, and then brought the recommendation on March 10th. This is a review of the changes to insurance from fiscal year 22 all the way to our current year 26. And you can see how the cost of health insurance is escalating quite quickly since fiscal year 24, 25, and 26, anywhere from 8 to 11%. And the increase that Deer Valley was presented with for fiscal year 27 was 11.2, right in line with what we saw last year. You can see that over the last 4 years as well, we've used a little bit of our Valley Schools reserve, or basically any cash in our net position at the year end, in order to offset those increases to the district, because otherwise those increases are funded by our maintenance and operation budget as well. Some of the changes include, we actually had, because of that, we had a decrease in reserve from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25, down from about 20.5 million to 15.7 million. Last year, the maximum out-of-pocket changed for the first time in 6 years, and we are seeing some changes to the high deductible, high premium HSA plan, but those are IRS compliance issues and not changes that we like to make necessarily. We did do something a little bit different for this benefit recommendation. This was the first time really that we completed a survey that went out to all employee groups simultaneously. Typically, if an employee group completed a survey and sent it out to their membership, each would complete their own. And during the committee meeting, everyone agreed that it would be easier and more beneficial to send out one survey. And so for that survey, we had 1,075 respondents. You can see that the largest group were our certified staff, followed by classified and administration, which makes sense because that's the proportion of the workforce they make up as well. We also looked at the respondents by longevity, and you can see over 52% of the respondents were anywhere between first year up to 10 years, and then 11 years all the way up to more than 31 years make up the other half of that chart. We asked 2 questions on the survey, and those were related to the increases that we had or were presented with for healthcare next year. And one of those changes is for the dependent care coverage. And the options were to pass on that full 11.2% dependent care coverage to those staff members who purchase the full, whether it's employee and children, employee and spouse, or employee and family. And so what the group decided was that the district should pick up a part of that so that it's not passed on fully to the individuals. And what we decided on was 6% of that increase. And so this first question is regarding that increase to dependent care coverage. And you can see here where, depending on how you view the neutrals, if a neutral is I can live with it, between the yes, I strongly support, yes, I support, and yes, I can live with it, that was an acceptable option to only pass on that 6% to the employees. We also have something a little bit different with our PPO plan. Our PPO plan used to be, prior to July 1, 2012, a zero cost to the employee option for healthcare. The HDHP plan was brought on in 2012, fiscal year 13, and when that changed, the PPO plan became a deductible was implemented for employees who wanted to remain on it, and the HDHP plan remains our zero cost to employees. But what happened in 2012 was we set up two different deductibles. And so if you were hired prior to July 1, 2012, I believe your deductible was about $30 a month at the time. If you were hired July 1, 2012 or later, your deductible was about $180 a month comparatively. And so I believe it was 2 years ago, the benefit committee started to bridge that gap between those two, knowing that the newer teachers after 2012 make less than the teachers who were here from, or not just teachers, but employees here prior to 2012. And there was a great deal of discussion about it, actually, and the committee believed that moving each employee group by only $10 still took into consideration the years of service from those who have been here since prior to 2012, but gave a little bit of the break to those folks who were here after 2012. And so you can see on this one where support was over 51% before even adding any neutrals. And so looking at the survey results, here was the final recommendation from the committee. That $11.2 million cost the district overall $3.89 million. Over $3 million of that is going to be required to be paid by our M&O budget next year. So one of the other things that the certified group for sure wanted to honor was that if we absolutely had any reserves that we could use to offset that cost, that we do that. And so we ran some estimates for our reserves through the end of the year and believe that for the 6th year in a row, no more than $1 million from reserve could or should be used to offset the cost for this year. We continue to offer that 4-tier option that I mentioned earlier. There's the employee only, employee and spouse, employee and children, and family. There are no changes to maximum out of pocket for either the PPO or the HDHP. We had the decrease to the employee contribution for the traditional PPO plan for those who were at 80 that were at 90 as of last year are coming down to $80 a month. Those are the post-2012. The pre-2012 are increasing from $40 a month to $50 a month. Dual spouse family coverage to remain a benefit for both spouses that are district employees. HDHP deductible increases yet again from $3,300 and $6,600 to $3,400 and $6,800 for family coverage. This again is an IRS compliance issue, just like we mentioned the increase from last year was as well. And we are going to continue to provide employees with a 2-for-1 contribution to their HSA, but that is capped at $1,200 with the minimum requirement of $100 per year. And then our stop loss coverage for those large medical claims remains at $400,000. Other benefits that we look at that really have no changes to them either, but we continue to offer our EAP plan. We did change the company that provides the employee assistance plan, but there were no changes to the costs at this time. Continue to offer Cigna DHMO and Delta Dental. There was a change to the employer cost on that, but no change to employees. Continue voluntary vision with the Vision Pooled Plan, or VSP, from Valley Schools Management Group. That was a new plan starting this year. Continue to provide short-term disability, life, accidental death, and dismemberment. Insurance with plans through Sun Life. There were no changes there. Continue privacy security with Allstate identity protection. That is also at no cost to employees. Continue the wellness program through Well Styles on the Personify app, where employees can earn up to $200 every year for doing things that improve their wellness and logging them in the app. And then continuing flexible spending account and COBRA coverage administration with our vendor WEX. And so that is just the vendor where, for your flexible spending account, holds those funds for you to either use or get reimbursement. Slight good news is that Arizona state retirement contributions are decreasing ever so slightly from 12% to 11.98%, and then the alternative contribution rates decreasing from 9.75 to 9.45, and there are no other employer paid benefit changes. And with that, this item is being presented for your approval this evening for implementation in fiscal year 26-27.
Any questions for Ms. Mock on this topic? Any public comment on this one? No. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
It passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Next item on the agenda is item 4B. Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the revised negotiated solution team NST salary recommendation for fiscal year 2025-26.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bodfeld. Ms. Mock, do you have a presentation for us on this?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and guests, we do not have a presentation, but I will refer back to the recommendation from March 12th and also our M&O board report from March 10th. Did I say March 12th? March 10th. And we have some one-time funds available to us for fiscal year 26, and we were able to release some of the encumbrance for our utilities, giving us an approximate little over $4 million in carry forward. And with that, we were able to work with our negotiation solutions team and talk about how we could use that perhaps to offset some of the loss from employees that they had from experiencing the furlough day back on January 5th, and perhaps maybe a little more boost to salary since there were no salary increases this year. And so what was decided on after lots of discussion was a 2% flat increase for all employee groups. Since the furlough day was experienced by each employee based on their current salary, that was the best way to honor replacing that for those who didn't work the day but also then did not get paid for it. And because that's the reality of what happened as well, we actually, this isn't really a replacement of the furlough day. Folks didn't work, they didn't get paid, but for sticking with Deer Valley during that time and through the furlough day and through no salary increases, it is a loyalty payment. And that payment will be paid based on folks in active status as of March 31st, 2026, pending your approval this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Mock. Any questions from the board on this topic? Mrs. Fisher.
I know we looked at the percentage, and I just want to say it for the record. I understand that everybody took the day. 2% of their annual salary is not a day. It's a lot more than a day. And when you're, say, a new teacher or maybe a 5-year teacher or a janitor or a secretary, when 2% for them versus 2% at the top. The top is a month's worth of their pay. I just think it's a very inappropriate distribution. It's very unfair to our teachers and our people who are hands-on with our students day to day. Not that we shouldn't honor all of our employees, but it's very lopsided. And I really hope in the future, if we have something like this, that we do it to where it benefits all employees, not just the top, while the other end of the spectrum has enough to go to Burger King. It's just very troublesome to me. So it's just my take on it. And I did run numbers to see that I'm not over exaggerating exactly how lopsided that is.
Dr. Finch, do you have something?
Sure. Yeah, that's incorrect, as usual. If you were paying attention to the Mock's speech, the point was the day that was lost was based on percentage, and there were no salary increases, which are based on percentage. That's why the team of a bunch of NST folks from all employee groups thought that was the best way to distribute funds. It wasn't one employee group is better than other or worse or not as important. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with logic. It was directly related to the day that was lost and that we didn't have any salary increases. So it would make total sense that it align with percentage. So I just disagree with that comment.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Anything further from Ms. Mock on this topic?
President Carver, members of the board, I will add that the vote from the NST team was unanimous and that the team is comprised of administrators, teachers, classified staff, some with higher longevity, some under 10 years of service, so that we have that balance. That was a board requirement several years ago. Members and non-members, so folks that are members of DVESPA that are not, that are members of DVEA and are not. And so all of those groups and all salary types did give a thumbs up, and there was no disagreement in the room.
Thank you, Ms. Mock. Anything further? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It passes 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Next item on the agenda is item 4C. Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board approve K-5 ELA curriculum resource adoption as recommended.
Second.
Dr. Galligan?
President Carver, members of the board, I do believe we have two public speakers for this item, if we could allow them to speak at this point.
Okay.
If I could please have Mary Smitten and Marie Burt approach the microphone. I will read something before you speak. The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary, to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Please state your name before you speak.
There it goes. It's on.
Oh, there. Sorry. My name is Marie Burt. To the school board and Dr. Finch, my name is Marie Burt. I'm a special education teacher at Legend Springs Elementary, working mainly with 4th through 6th grade students with IEPs who are reading well below grade level. I wanted to be on the ELA curriculum committee because I teach an ELA class focused on the needs of my students, which means integrating grade level materials with new scaffolds. I was drawn to CKLA for a number of reasons as a special education and upper elementary school teacher, including strong Tier 1 instruction, explicit Tier 2 instructional materials and diagnostic information, and the introduction of Shakespeare in fifth graders. First, CKLA provides very strong Tier 1 instruction. Excellent instruction benefits all learners. By grades 3 through 5, the instruction is integrated, meaning reading and writing are intertwined, and skills and knowledge are developed simultaneously. This method of instruction benefits students by increasing vocabulary and knowledge of a particular subject at the same time, while also teaching students to read and write based on solid mentor texts. Secondly, CKLA provides explicit instruction for Tier 2 and some Tier 3 interventions. This is important for all teachers, especially those new to the profession or those new to intervention and scaffolding for struggling students. Additionally, programs like Boost and Dibbles allow K-3 teachers to diagnose and immediately address specific reading difficulties, increasing the chances of catching and addressing problems early. Finally, because most of my students are currently fifth graders, I spent most of my time in that curriculum. I was very excited to see that one of the district's options is to teach A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. There are so many benefits to teaching theater and Shakespeare in both general and special education classes, and CKLA makes Shakespeare accessible for students while maintaining text complexity. Studying Shakespeare addresses many of the state standards, including poetry, figurative language, drama, listening, and additionally, students learn critical thinking skills that come from studying complex text and ideas, gain cultural literacy, and learn confidence and team building from working together to act out scenes. Should you worry it's too much for special education students, I already do a drama unit with my class every year, and they always need to start it early. I love doing theater, including Shakespeare, with them because they actively learn getting out of their seats and working in teams. They improve their reading fluency and comprehension because of the repeated reading required to produce scenes. They learn social emotional skills like eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, and reactions. Overall, CKLA is an award-winning, research-based, and data-informed program that I believe will help prepare our students with the skills they need to succeed in the 21st century, with a proven track record of improving all scores, especially the scores of struggling students.
President Carver, board, and guests. I'm Mary Smitten. I'm a special education teacher, but on the lower end, K to 4. I strongly support the adoption of the Amplify CKLA for our K to 5 students. This curriculum provides meaningful differentiation that allows all learners, regardless of their ability level, to access grade level content. It supports diverse learning needs through structured, research-based instruction, while still allowing flexibility for individualized supports. Most importantly, it respects the strengths and challenges of every student in our classrooms, helping ensure that all children can engage, grow, and succeed.
Dr. Galligan.
President Carver, members of the board, teachers, and others who have joined us for this topic. We have the same presentation as we had at the last board meeting. We have updated the numbers as we said we were going to. I don't know, Josh, if you can put that up there for me, I'd appreciate it, and I'll get to that slide so that you can see it. So what you'll see here is we have increased the number of licenses, and that is for a 10% overage for the life of the adoption. What we typically do is build in an overage so that materials that are destroyed or not as new as they were before and need to be replaced, and we have that and we store it, and then as schools need it, and we're able to get that out. And we've had that in place for interreading as well in the past. Another area is this particular curriculum means that our schools for kindergarten through 5th grade, and this really is for our 4th and 5th grade levels, will have to teach reading and writing. In the past, not all of our schools had the reading teacher teach writing. It was sometimes spread across other teachers, but with this particular curriculum, our teacher who teaches reading has to teach writing because they're both so integrated together, which means a number of our schools are changing from departmentalized teachers at 4th and 5th grade to self-contained teachers, which has increased, again, the need for more licenses than what we had initially identified in November. The other thing that I want to share with you is the materials that we included for our special education teachers were teacher editions, and those in the original quote were online editions. What we heard from our special education teachers and leaders is that for them to feel more confident in utilizing the materials with their special education students, that they would prefer to have the hard copy teacher editions and the kits that go along with that. So that is also included in that cost. As you know, then the tax, because the cost goes up, the tax is 9.3. That means our taxes go up. One thing that I do want to remind you, we pay yearly for M-Class, and M-Class is what we use for our dibbles, and that is what we share then with the state for the statute requirement. Over the life of this 6 years, that cost is built into this adoption, and it will not be something that we pay outside of it like we have in previous years, and that is about $498,000. That would be a cost that would be part of what we would be paying anyway, because M-Class is what we've been using for the last number of years for that requirement. I'm going to turn it over to Jen and see if there's anything you would like to add to that.
At this time, President Carver and
Yep.
members of President Carver and members of the governing board and Dr. Finch, I just want to say we're super excited as teachers out there are getting word of this coming to the board tonight. So much positivity and renewed fire in learning new things and getting great stuff to our students. And I'd also like to say thank you. Yes. Yeah, to our committee members who are here today, who, if you could stand, as well as, if we could see our committees, there's some over there too, on both sides. Thank you for coming and supporting. And we also have Tommy Gerhardt, our Amplify representative who works with us. And Tommy, if you could stand in back there to come support us. And we have fantastic support with this company.
So you will see that the cost is just at about $4,700,000. Heather and Ms. Mock and team and I have worked together, and this is in our budget for this year. We'll just appreciate your support in bringing this product to our kindergarten through 5th grade children and educators. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Galligan. Any questions for Dr. Galligan on this topic? Mrs. Fisher?
I did take the answer to the question back to the constituents that had asked the question. They were perfectly fine with the answer. They just didn't know. And so they were glad that we were getting this and moving it forward. They didn't realize how old the other one was. They thought it was only like a year or two old. They were, thank you for answering the question clearly for them. They were watching and they did appreciate your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Dr. Peck?
I just want to say I'm excited about the reading and writing being intertwined, and so I fully expect our scores to go up, so yay.
Mr. Bodfield, anything? No?
Anything that supports teachers, I support.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye, okay. It passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Next up on the agenda, item 4D. Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board review and discuss to recommend political agenda items for the district's ASBA delegate it's me, to represent the board's determined position.
Thank you, Dr. Pack. Thank you, Mr. Bodfeld. So at the last meeting, board members were given some homework to go home and look at the two-pager of the political agenda that's kind of been regurgitated over the years at ASBA to see which items we want to find. Don't necessarily need to have a ranking right now, tonight, for Dr. Pack. But I would encourage the board members, you've got some of these worksheets in front of your spot. If you have not taken the time to respond back to Mrs. Taylor, to let her know which numbers, which is all you need to do. You don't need to copy and paste the words. If you just reference the ID number in an email back to Mrs. Taylor. Well, we're going to vote on it. I'm just, okay. So, but as far as our priorities, we need to be able to get those to Dr. Pack goes to vote. What we're voting on tonight is the political agenda as presented to us by ASBA. Are there any questions or comments about the document as presented? There's things that have been on there for years that don't need to be on there, in my opinion, but
It's not even just that. There are some that are completely detrimental to Deer Valley specifically. It's important that we do not support them returning desegregation. Our community, we've never had desegregation. In fact, there is currently no school district in the state of Arizona under a desegregation order. They've all expired. But they've continued to get desegregation. It's a limited number of schools. And so essentially supporting that takes their expenditure or their additional revenue and puts it on our voters, on our community does not want to be paying. I mean, it's not that they're not opposed to paying for our children, but they are opposed to being made to pay for desegregation funds, which end up making those other districts, and literally it's, I think, Phoenix Union, Tucson, there's a couple of small ones. I think it's a handful, but it gives them such an I don't even know what to call it. It's just an unbelievable advantage on being able to pay for so much more to their employees, to whatever, and it really just makes it lopsided. So it annihilates the whole purpose of having an equalization or an unequal funding for school. It makes it very lopsided. So I think it's really important that we stress that needs to be opposed. If those districts want to continue it, they want to pay for it, great. Maybe we can get more money in from our voters for us, but we don't want our voters paying for other districts. So that's 1-10 is really important that we oppose that. I know some are really gung-ho on 114. Everything I have heard, and I understand that it's specifically people that are in the city that are opposed. That, you're already paying for it, you're already paying this, you're paying that. Why would you pay their housing? And also working for rural districts, I understand that it is difficult, but school districts already do so much that is not education. We stick our feet where they don't belong. And I'm sorry, but we are not a housing authority, and it is not our duty. Our duty is to educate kids, not to house employees. I'm opposed to that because I want to make sure that funds goes to the classroom, not to something else. So that I think is really important that we look at. Part of the reason, 2-3 to me is very concerning, and I do understand that it's important that the school district have that local control when it comes to dealing with the taxpayer-funded assets. The problem is we're already in such a situation where, if this one does this with it, it's wrong, but if we do it, it's okay, and everybody's pointing fingers and I think there needs to be some at least rules and boundaries, and while local control may be great, there needs to remain rules and boundaries on all who gets taxpayer funds. Just basic rules and boundaries, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just something correct and even. 325 also, maintain that local authority when it comes to consolidating. I've noticed, I can understand, okay, if you're in a rural community, and because I have seen this happen, some of them that are north of us, where, take for example, Red Mesa. Pretty much if you work for Red Mesa, you have no choice. You have to live on campus because there's nothing anywhere else around. They have no choice. They do certain things, and they already have the leeway to do certain things. But when you have a tiny school district that has 600 students and a full administration, superintendent, blah, 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 the whole thing. And then next door to it, you have another tiny school district that has, say, 2,000 students and a full administration. And then next to that, you have another school district that has 4,000 students and a same administration. You start getting a little bit lopsided. There needs to be reason in what you're doing when you talk about unification. And the reason I'm bringing this one up is because this year, a representative decided they were going to put a bill to force unify school districts, a certain school, well, the one I work for. They were going to force unify it with a different district or with the surrounding elementary. Never talked to anybody, never talked to any of the superintendents, never talked to the neighboring superintendents, never talked to the receiver or community. It almost passed without anybody catching it. It was on its third reading, and finally someone called the superintendent and said, "What is this?" And it's like, so we need to, legislators are already looking at things like unification because they see all these tiny districts that are within a few miles of each other that have full separate administrations, and yet you have Deer Valley, we have one administration and 38 schools. Well, you have more than that. Well, it used to be 38, but you have, either way, you have almost 30,000 students versus 2,000 students, 600, 2,000, So they're looking at these small things and saying, well, we have to force a unification, but they're not looking at the bigger picture. So I almost think that is going to need to be adjusted and maybe put a more of a, put a change in the language, and I'm not really sure how this board can encourage you to do that. When you go in that room, when you were there last year, when you go in that room, just because this is what's there doesn't mean this is where it has to stay. You can get up, you can speak, and you can make suggestions for changes for something like this. It's important that, I wouldn't say necessarily the exclusive control, because that's when they start trying to do it on the back end without us. But maybe say add a regulation or something that they have to be in contact with the impacted district superintendent and board prior to any consideration, even the first reading. Because like I said, it was shocking how close that bill came to pass. And every single one of the superintendents in the area was like, what the heck? You never talked to us. We and some of them had already suggested, well, maybe we do this. Maybe they're already having talks and knowing what they need to do. So there needs to be a little more conversation with the legislature on that one. It's a little concerning. 2325. Those were the main ones that I at first I just wrote big no's, and then I thought it would just be better if I explain it to you why than just saying no, because there's valid reasons why some of these are on there, and there's really important reasons why they need to stay. The other one that, and I did get a lot of pushback from multiple of my constituents that I talk about this stuff with, is the compulsory age. It's important that people understand that compulsory age is for kids who have not graduated. Wanting to increase it so kids that haven't graduated, haven't done a GED, haven't gone to the military and decided to make those changes. It's not meant to impact negatively the kids who are making wise decisions and moving. Like my daughter decided she hated high school. So she went to day and night school, and she graduated from Barry Goldwater and Deer Valley in 3 years. She enjoyed her high school time. She did bowling, she lettered and this and that. She graduated with honors, but she made wise decisions. So being able to graduate at 16, well, great. She doesn't fall under this. And a kid that, even one that the parents and the kid decide, hey, this kid is really we're gonna lose him if we don't let him get a GED and join the Air Force or join whatever. The families that make those decisions, we might not agree with them, but they still have that out on this. This is intended to catch the kids who nobody's watching out for, who don't have a parent that's there to help pull them along. They're just not going anywhere. They're not doing, so that's what the compulsory age going to 18 is. And maybe if we, I don't know, express the purpose of it, because a lot of people seem to think we're going to try and force them to be in there till they're 18 no matter what, and that's not the case. It's only the ones that are lost that we're trying to recoup. So those are the three big ones for me. If you want me to send you scores, I can, but the rest of them have been fairly well thought out. We've talked about them over years.
Do you have the number for the desegregation one? The first one, I didn't catch it when you were talking.
I do.
110.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that desegregation is really important because it's going to be one. I don't know why some of the schools that it's not even going to impact are pushing to, because Phoenix Union's big, and they want to be buddy-buddy with the Phoenix Union group, and but our taxpayers don't want that expense.
Thank you.
Mr. Botfield, do you have any direction to give Dr. Pack? I would just like to, food for thought for you. I've been having the same conversation that Mrs. Fisher was sharing about 110 when I was on the committee last year, that there's very few districts that are still benefiting from that. And I don't think that it creates a lopsided playing field anymore. It's outlived its usefulness. And then 114, I pointed this out, the committee that I was on when they were rehashing, a great number of the folks come from the rural areas, the reservations. And this is an important thing to them, but I pointed out to them, I said, you already do it. They already offer housing in some of these remote locations. I said, but to try to mandate this or give all districts an opportunity takes away the perk that the rural communities now currently have. And besides, to Mrs. Fisher's point, we hardly have enough money to keep the lights on and pay the teachers. I don't think that we need to. So as far as no's go, those are two that I would encourage you to vote against. But as the instructions that we received encourage us to send you 5 that we do support, I will share with you 1-4, fully fund full-day kindergarten and include kindergarten students in the override calculations. I don't think a lot of people understand the state only pays for half-day kindergarten. 113, prorate funding over the entire school year among all public schools that a student has attended during the year. Some districts end up becoming the victim of the 100-day count, and they either benefit one year or take it the next year. So they end up with a lot of kids after the 100th day, and then that's kind of unfair to the districts that receive it. 2.7, amend current state statute to allow school board members to use the e-qual system in addition to in-person signatures. The legislature last year added nonpartisan races to the e-qual system and excluded school boards. So now pretty much everybody in the state can participate in that except for school board members. And school boards, at least in the case of Deer Valley, we have to get a considerable a considerably higher number of signatures than a lot of other races in the state. So that would be nice if they would afford that. Item 3.7 for my fourth one, redefine the role and purpose of standardized testing and develop meaningful assessments and other measurable outcomes. That is like the $20,000 question that we have going on right now is, you know, everybody's using this word proficiency and then the numbers are atrocious, but yet we end up graduating with $70 million worth of scholarships every year. So I think the Department of Education could do a lot better when it comes to what exactly is it that they're testing and what terms should they be using so that your average everyday understand the growth or the challenges that the student population are facing. And then my last one was 6.6. Develop a more comprehensive harassment bullying definition and system to better enhance the clarity of understanding and the protection of our youth. Now this one ended up on the permanent list due to Deer Valley Unified. We brought it to the floor last year, I believe it was, after some extensive conversation that we had here in the district about the fact that our policies, when we use the ASBA policy, fall short of actually providing good in-depth protection for our children when they fall victim to harassment and bullying. So I would encourage us to keep beating that drum and see if we can get the lobbyists down there to push that direction. Dr. Pack, would you like to share your thoughts?
I would. Ms. Fisher, if you can send me those whenever you get, I have time, I know, but if you send those, then I'll remember. I wrote down notes. Mr. Botfeld, do you have any rankings you'd like to share with me? Okay. You can do your homework tomorrow and send it to me if you'd like. I know what I picked, but I want to share one of the ones. And I do have a point of clarification. When we vote on this, President Carver, we're voting that we agree. If there's a mistake on it, it's a clarification. I just want to share it because it is a little confusing. It's the one you said yes on 2.7. Amend current statute to allow school board members to use equal system, et cetera, et cetera. It should be school board candidates because you're not a member until you actually. So when I go, I'm going to bring that up because that's.
If it's written like that on here,
it is. I
checked. Make that point when you're in the assembly. Okay.
Because we want it to be the best that it can.
Yes.
So we'll vote on it, but with that, that's my only caveat. And then of the three that I ranked, one that I want to make sure I mention for the public, because I've talked to constituents about it, I brought it up last year, it would be 4-4, increase public school tax credit donation limits to match those allowed for private schools.
Yes. Ms. Simichek, do you have anything to add to the conversation? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, just a little bit to touch on some of the things that we have heard down there, to give some context is in regards to the bullying. Lots of times bills will get brought in, but they don't, they might have something else that goes along with them. And so, like, for example, we did see a bill this year that came through to get school board candidates on the ballot, but it would have required them to designate their party. And, obviously, in my case, I voted against that because, I think school board elections should be nonpartisan as they have been. So sometimes these things do end up coming through the legislature, but they're tagged on with other things, and that's how they become an issue when we're not successful in either getting them through or signed into law by the governor. But yes, I think that's been, we've heard from a lot of constituents about like 4-4 increasing that public that tax credit donation. I think that is very doable. I don't see why it is an issue, but I can move. I think that's definitely a priority. And then for me, it's always been, the equity and school district funding per pupil is always been my number one priority. So that particular group is my top priority one, I guess it would be.
Thank you, Ms. Simichek.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on this topic? Okay, so an affirmative vote will be to send Dr. Pack to the meeting with the notes and the direction that we've given her? Oh, okay. We're going to vote on this again at a future meeting. Yes, okay. So this is a preliminary vote just to test the direction of the wind here. So all those in favor of the way that it's presented with the notes that we've attached?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Next item on the agenda, number 5, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 5A through 5G.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I think I heard 4-1. Yeah,
Aye. Yeah.
Passes 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. See, next item up on the agenda, item 6A, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. It's not popping up. She's having to do it manual.
It passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Item 6B, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept the Deer Valley Unified School District FY25 financial audit and compliance questionnaire completed by Heinfeld Meach by roll call vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Mock, do you have a presentation for us on this one?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch and guests, yes, we do. This one is near and dear to my heart. When I started in school finance in Deer Valley, it was actually as the internal auditor about 15 or so years ago. So I am no stranger to the audit or the report. This is actually the 6th year that we are presenting this to the board for approval, but it did not become official that it had to be accepted by the governing board until 21. Deer Valley being overachievers, we actually brought it for approval as a preview in this time in 2020. And so we are coming yet again. This is a requirement. The funny thing is the board cannot change any of the audit findings. I myself cannot change any of the findings, but this is a requirement that I believe was implemented for transparency. And even before we presented the audit for approval by the governing board or acceptance by the governing board, we would always provide the governing board with the corrective action plan. So Deer Valley, I think, was way ahead of the curve on this, but not every district had always behaved the same. And so now it is a requirement. Our auditor, as mentioned in the recommendation, is prepared these following documents this year. Our audit firm was Heinfeld Meach. This was a change from the fiscal year 24 audit where we had a final audit from audit firm CWDL. But Heinfeld Meach prepared for us this year our annual comprehensive financial report, the Uniform System of Financial Records Compliance Questionnaire, and the single audit reporting package. You can see that asterisk there by the annual comprehensive financial report, because it's not actually part of the audit. It's not one of the audit documents. It is for reporting and transparency. And so we do include it with this item as well. This is a little bit of the timeline for what an audit takes. An audit for a fiscal year actually takes an entire calendar year, typically starting in April. We're getting ready to start in April of 26 for our current fiscal year 26 audit, and it will wrap up in March of 27. So these are all the timelines. We start looking at deposits and attendance going out into the schools in April while the files are still in the current year. It makes them much more accessible. Remaining test work will usually occur in October, sometimes November, and the ACFR has to be completed by March 31st of each school year. The compliance questionnaire and single audit report package by the end of March as well. And then in March, we typically have our financial audit report to the governing board. So you're going to see I changed the report a little bit from what we had in the past, but we're going to start with the compliance questionnaire. The compliance questionnaire has over 170 questions that are meant to test controls within the district, financial controls, budget controls. And so these are all of the different categories. And you can see any of those categories. So where it says governing board / management procedures, there are 11 compliance questionnaire questions for that section. And so going down the list, you can see how many questions are in each section. Any item with an asterisk by it, that was one that had an audit finding for fiscal year 25. Anything with, it depends on your age, on whether it's a pound sign or a hashtag. Those items had findings in fiscal year 25, just so you can see, or 24, so you can see it. I always say this is the time of year I don't know what year I'm in, because we're still auditing 25, we're finishing that up, living in 26, and already planning 27. So I will correct the year when I get it wrong, but you can see the hashtag or pound sign or number sign are those that had audit findings in fiscal year 24. So we're going to go down the list of audit findings for the compliance questionnaire, and the first was governing board and management procedures. And one of the items was conflict of interest forms. You know, as governing board members and staff members, every year has to sign a conflict of interest form. We actually do it through Binocular at the beginning of the school year when everyone does their beginning of the year videos, that if you have a substantial interest or a family member or in any company that may do district business with the district, you have to disclose that. And what happened in this particular case was an employee who's actually a coach for us at one of the high schools provided services relative to the coaching that should have been paid probably as another stipend or extra duty pay. And somehow this actually rarely happens, that it ended up getting passed through the purchasing department, and so it was, those services were paid out as a PO instead of as an employee. Board approval of student clubs and organizations fundraising events. 1 of 5 student activities tested, there was no documentation of approval. And I believe it's policy JJE, I had it written down and then didn't bring that document with me, is fundraisers. And so that policy says the superintendent approves fundraisers for the district. And in governing board policy, anytime it does state superintendent, it's superintendent or designee. And so then in another document, our administrative management guidelines, the superintendent actually identifies the designee as principal. And so for one of those 5 student activities or fundraisers, there was no documentation could be found of principal approval, but for those other 4, they did. Another area of non-compliance, that second area, is accounting records. There are 6 questions, and 2 of them had findings. And, this was one where you'll see these a couple different places in this report. And most of these were revenue disbursements. And we had on that first, or the first sub-bullet there, transactions were coded in 2 fiscal years. So they were coded in fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25. And so that resulted in a correction to the fiscal year 24 annual financial report and fiscal year 24 audit. That transaction included a $5.3 million state aid payment and also over $200,000 in bond interest earnings for about $5.5 million that were coded in 2 fiscal years, but that has been corrected. And even though it was corrected by the time the audit was finalized, it had not been corrected in 24 before that audit was finalized, and that's why we're seeing it here. We had some other disbursements of revenue and state aid that did not have the correct object codes, and expenditure codes for 10 out of 50 receipts checked did not have the correct object code. 9 of those were capital type purchases, and 1 was an M&O type purchase. And I would like to take this opportunity to kind of preview for you one of the things that Megan Quayle and Don Ferguson, now Megan Quayle is our Director of Finance and Don Ferguson is now our internal auditor. One of the things that they are working on along with our school ERP Pro Systems specialist is actually changing our account code structure to make sure it matches with the uniform system of financial records. And with that, we're adding a project code and a course code. So our 5-segment 17 character code is going to increase next year, but it's actually going to help us avoid some of these mistakes as well. One of the other items that we had, and you will see again later on in the report, is the district did not reconcile cash with the county treasurer on a monthly basis and adjustments were necessary to correct financial statements. And then there were 3 funds that did not have documentation on the reconciliation. And so there's not a lot I can say, not having been here for those 2 years between fiscal year 24 and 25, on why this happened. I did have just some anecdotal information as I came on that there had been reconciliations in 24, but as reconciliations began in fiscal year 25, it became apparent that those fiscal year 24 reconciliations were not correct. And I do believe that was related to those state aid payments being coded in both years. For the 3 funds that did not have documentation of reconciliation, they were Fund 620, Adjacent Ways. There were actually no expenses in fiscal year 25, but there were some small revenue in interest and back tax revenue. I don't know why it was not reconciled. I don't know if perhaps it was overlooked because there were no expenses. Fund 691 is Building Renewal Grant. It actually was a newer fund to Deer Valley in fiscal year 23. We mention this every time we talk about our friends at the School Facilities Division and how Deer Valley had rarely historically qualified for any of those building renewal grant funds. Fiscal year 23 was the first year where we had some reimbursements for assessments for roofs. And then as we moved into 24 and 25, we actually had some of those reimbursements. It was under $500,000 in revenue and expenses in fiscal year 25. And Fund 695 is our new schools fund, which had no expenses and interest income. There's very little in that account, as a matter of fact. And so those 3 were not reconciled. Although I can't say why they weren't reconciled, I can say that we are working on our process and comparing processes with other school districts to make sure that we can remain current. However, I have this bulleted later in the presentation, but I'll go ahead and say it now. The Maricopa County Treasurer's Office implemented a new reporting system early this school year. And as of October, none of their reports are available. So we've not been able to reconcile to county since October. So it is likely that you will see this audit finding again next year. All right, moving on to cash and revenue, there are 30 questions in this area, and there was 1 area of non-compliance, and that was for 2 of the deposits tested, 1 for a high school and 1 for a K-8 school. They were the deposits were not supported with receipts, either cash receipt summary reports, mail logs, etc. And so there was no backup to guarantee that that deposit was made intact and in full. And so we do have processes for that. We have a cash collection AMG. We will look at that AMG, make sure that it has all of the information it needs to have. Also, we had previously had a training for all staff at the beginning of the year that was a basic of all of these things. Procurement, cash deposits, what to do, what not to do, and it will be updated and re-implemented for 26-27. It was not part of the learning this year. I think it might have been still last year, but that's our one way that we really can reach all staff and kind of help avoid some of these things. We do have monthly meetings with our bookstore managers and accounting clerks as well, and our front office secretaries, and also the principals. So we attack it at every angle we can, but with the amount of transactions that we have, sometimes, unfortunately, some of these items slip through. Property control, this is a newer one for Deer Valley when it comes to areas of non-compliance. Last year we had 0, this year we had 3 of 8. And so district capital assets and stewardship items were not identified as district property. So what happens when the auditors come out, there's 2 different ways that they can check our capital assets and stewardship items. Capital assets are items $5,000 or more, and stewardship items are $1,000, between $1,000 and $5,000. And so the auditors can either pull that stewardship list and the property control list and say, okay, find me this item. It's supposed to be in classroom 306. Let's go see if it's there. And if it's not there, then that could be an audit finding. In this case, what happened was the auditors went to the site and said, okay, you know, ovens are usually a fixed asset. Let's go check the asset tag on the oven and see if it's on the report. Now, I'm using that as an example. I don't know that it was an oven, but whatever item it was, they requested to see and to match that property control tag was not on the inventory report. The district did not perform a physical inventory of all equipment and reconcile the inventory results of the stewardship list at least every 3 years. And that typically is done on a rotating cycle. And again, we are, not only do we have a new internal auditor, a new director of finance, we have a new director of purchasing who started in January, and last year's director of purchasing was here for less than a year. So we've had a little bit of turnover, and we've had some turnover in the property control specialist area as well. So we are addressing that with additional training for that department and that staff to make sure our processes are up to date. And I do know personally that everyone at district office, if they don't know already, they're about to get their fixed asset reports and to have to conduct their inventory. We saved it for after spring break. We didn't want to bring anyone down before spring break. So we are working on getting that back into compliance as well. This third bullet is an item we've already corrected, and that is neither the governing board nor authorized designee approved stewardship and capital asset disposals during the fiscal year. Earlier this fiscal year, we did revise our district authorized signers, and that includes our director of purchasing, our director of finance, and myself are now authorized by the governing board to sign off on any of those disposals. Most of those disposals are typically items that go to auction. For expenditures, there are 9 questions, and 2 of the 9 questions had areas of noncompliance. The district did not monitor budget capacity and budget controlled funds. What we really like to call this, it used to be a red letter when it came to POs after the fact. And so the invoice arrived before the PO was created. And we had 7 of those. We try very hard to make sure, again, that's part of that training that we have in that video at the beginning of the year. You can't spend $1 unless you've got pre-approval from your budget administrator, whether it's your principal or your department manager. For one of 7 extracurricular activity tax credit expenditures, it did not meet the definition of eligible activities. That one transaction was actually for a Scholastic magazine. And so especially if it's used during the school day as part of the curriculum, it does not qualify, as the name of the fund implies. Items that can be used out of this fund are only for outside of bell to bell, outside of the school day. And so we work very hard to provide that information as well and catch those things when they come across in purchase orders. But again, one missed all of the transactions. Procurement being a very big part of public school finance and operation. There are 26 questions in this area, and for 2 of 26 areas tested, there were findings. One of those is that for one of 15 procurements through the written quotation method, the vendor chosen was not the lowest cost vendor, which is actually okay, but what we didn't have was written documentation of why the lowest cost vendor was not used. It could have been that the items couldn't be received in time. It could have been that the quality, we've used them in the past and the quality wasn't there. It's really hard to say because, as we all know, document it or it didn't happen. And so we just didn't have that documentation. And as we saw in that first finding for our management findings, that purchase from a district employee as a vendor did not follow school district procurement rules. So we had that, gave us the conflict of interest and then the procurement. It is possible to purchase from governing board members or district employees, but you do have to complete a full solicitation process for that. And so that one unfortunately gave us 2 findings on this questionnaire. Financial reporting, 2 areas of noncompliance out of 8. One of them, we missed it by that much, We submitted our annual financial report to the County School Superintendent's Office on October 16th. It is due both to the Arizona Department of Education and the County School Superintendent's Office by October 15th. And then the district did not file prior year financial statements, single audit, or USFR compliance questionnaire with ADE. That finding was actually part of the 24 findings as well. However, what was missing the prior year was it was not filed with the County School Superintendent's Office. So again, there are requirements to provide these items to both Arizona Department of Education and to the County School Superintendent's Office. Student attendance reporting. This is another high area with a lot of questions on the questionnaire. We had 3 of 15 partial day absences reviewed for elementary and high school were understated by 0.5 absences. A lot of that's a manual system, which lends itself to errors just by nature. Busy front offices, parents signing in and out, putting the times that they're signing their children in and out, and then we are required to manually adjust any absences if they miss enough of the day to qualify for that. 6 of 7 Arizona online instruction students for their daily log review did not agree with the hours reported to ADE. This one we will look into a little bit further. I think we've had this problem in the past. The problem with it is that they complete an electronic log, and that electronic log is how we upload the hours to ADE. So it's always quizzical that they do not agree. The only thing could potentially be if hours were changed by a student after they were submitted, but that's something that we would be able to easily fix. For 6 of 15th withdrawals of consecutive absences, the student was not counted through the last day of actual attendance or excused absence. And again, that is a manual transaction as well. Students who have 10 unexcused absences do have to be manually withdrawn, and you take them back to the last date of attendance. So that's something we look at carefully. It's part of our internal audit process as well. And with the change in internal auditors, I think we had maybe 3 over the past couple years. Our internal auditor is getting trained and back out in the schools, and that is one of the items that is checked as well. For information technology, we had 3 out of 13. Now, what's interesting is that when we talk about procurement, some of those procurement findings and our information technology findings, a lot of our practices have not changed from year to year, and neither of these areas, I should say, had any findings in fiscal year 24. So it could be change in audit firm, it could just be that some of the questions for information technology say based on industry standards. And so when industry standards change, you could find an audit finding that wasn't there the year before, such as that bottom bullet, the district did not require multi-factor authentication for employees using the point of sale database that we use at our bookstores and our K-8s and all of our schools. We try to push as many transactions electronically as possible, but as your bank may have recommended to you, anytime you are dealing with financial transactions, the new industry standard is to have that multi-factor authentication. We're actually working on that across the district in many different ways, including Google accounts, including our school ERP Pro system. And so our database administrator for that system, along with IS&T, are working on implementing multi-factor authentication for that. Going back to the top, separation of duties, being able to prevent an employee to complete a transaction without additional review and approval for the electronic key system. That is another one where all of the system administrators and the access they have is the same that it's been for as long as I can remember. So my first stop tomorrow morning is actually IS&T, and we'll take a look at that and see if there's anything that can be done. A lot of those systems, when it comes to user roles, there's no approval flow. When it comes to money, there's typically an approval flow, whether you're making a deposit or a journal entry, but that's just not the same with user access. So there may or may not be anything we can do about that at this time. And district was not able to provide all data sharing agreements that we have with third-party vendors. We do believe we have those. I think we just had not done a good job of putting them in one repository, and so that's something we will be working on with IS&T as well. Transportation support, one of two questions. Fun fact, there was only one question for transportation support last year. This was not the new question. This was the question that had been on the compliance questionnaire in the past, and the district route miles traveled did not match to the Tran 55-1 report. We were off by 145 miles. As one of the districts with the highest amount of miles traveled, obviously we want to be perfect, but we will work with transportation to see what happened, how we got that 145 mile disparity. All right, that takes us through the end of the compliance questionnaire. And this is something that has not been on the presentation in the past. And this is the single audit report. Single audit report where the compliance questionnaire goes with the Arizona Auditor General's Uniform System of Financial Records compliance questionnaire. These questions are more based on government accounting standards. The single audit report actually has to be provided to Arizona Department of Education Grants Management for any district that spends over $750,000 a year in state and federal grants. It is a requirement that you provide your single audit report to ADE. And when you have findings, not only do we respond to our governing board on what we're doing to correct them, we have to respond to ADE. And not correcting any of those deficiencies or material weaknesses could put our grants at jeopardy. So we are adding this to our report because it is part of the report package, even though we hadn't necessarily reported on it in the past. For the last 2 years, you can see there 2024-01 and 2025-01, we did have a material weakness of needing to properly implement internal controls over accounting records. That goes back to the same accounting records we talked about. It was those monthly county cash reconciliations and the timeliness of those. So it was the accuracy and timeliness of those. We did have corrective actions submitted and accepted for 24 with targeted completion as of June of 26. But here's where I have my final asterisk about Maricopa County Treasurer's Office, that our reports aren't available and they haven't been since October of 2025. So I would hate to see this again on our 26 single audit report. If it comes up again, we will fight with the auditors to make sure there's footnotes that our process has been corrected, but we were not able to get the reports from County Treasurer's Office. We do check back with them often to see if they are available, and they have not been able to give us a timeline for when those will be available. And with that, I will take any questions about our fiscal year 25 audit.
That was a lot to digest. Questions, Dr. Pack? Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
As far as the county, they'll email them all to you in one email, and it's going to be huge, and it'll still be a finding. Not of your fault, but it'll happen. I think one of the things, asset tags must somehow be a big thing for them this year. You might want to consider adding, for anything that's metallic, a stamp set where they can stamp the number you're in, because we got hit with a finding because the asset tag was there, but it had rubbed off. The number had rubbed smooth, so they recommended that we write it on with a Sharpie and put tape over, but I think a stamp set for anything metallic would help you with that. Did you guys add a rubric to your purchasing to address that other issue?
President Carver, Mrs. Fisher, yes, there is a checklist that is in place for purchasing.
They wouldn't take that?
And I think it's just been a lot of the turnover. And so depending on which director was here, it depended on whether the buyers were converting POs themselves and if they were missing a final check, or there were, a couple weeks or times where we didn't have a director to do that.
And didn't you just change audit firms?
We did. From fiscal year, I think 23 to 25, we had CWDL, or it may have been 22 to 25, we had CWDL, and so we just returned back to Heinfeld Meach for 25, and we'll have them again for 26.
Okay. It's actually, and I don't know, I'm sure nobody, some people appreciate my opinion, some do not. It's really not a bad audit. It really isn't. And it's real common. The findings that were found there's got to be something going on, that they're looking at certain things because it's consistent against a lot of audits. And they are generally because of turnover or something just changed, or somehow a new person took on a role and didn't know they had to reconcile something. And a lot of times when you're with the county, you're not kidding. You will get an email. I can show you one with 7 months worth of reports, and 6 of them are now late. And it's an audit finding, whether you could do anything about it or not. So it's actually not a bad audit.
Dr. Peck?
Thank you for sharing that Don Ferguson is our new internal auditor, and I'd like to also share with him, if I ever meet him, if I point out any miscoding, it's just to help in this effort to get things coded right. Because I think some of those years, 2025, I was here looking at vouchers, so I will continue to point that out. And of course, we'll get an updated book when you align codes with the other one. Thank you.
Mr. Blackfield, anything?
Not this time.
Not this time. I would like to thank you, Ms. Mock, for everything that was identified. You've got a plan in place moving forward. I'd just like to point out that, as seemed to be the situation with most of those things, a lot of this happens through transition. When there's change, there was a changing of the guard in that department, and so the incoming doesn't know what the outgoing was doing, and sometimes it's hard to effectively communicate everything because there's only like 15 million things that you do in your department. So things are going to get missed. So I thank you and your department for identifying new best practices moving forward to try to minimize and to increase the training of the frontline folks so that they can try to help reduce some of these things. It would be nice with all the different kinds of awards that we're constantly winning in this district if we sit up here one time and we see this thing and it's like there's nothing there. It's a great day. It's a great day. Let's close it and be done. So, but thank you. I appreciate it. If there's nothing further.
President Carver, can I
Yes.
add, I just want to add real quick.
Yep.
And I appreciate Mrs. Fisher and all of you for your positive comments on the report, because I know our staff take it to heart when things come back, right? And I think that Mrs. Ferguson, D-A-W-N, Dawn, so it is Mrs. Ferguson, but, and Mrs. Quayle did a great job coming in and getting as much corrected before we got here. Just for transparency's sake, I tried to include in the presentation the number of transactions we have in our financial software, and it crashed. It could not pull the number for me. It couldn't pull them all. I tried it at home first on VPN, and I thought, oh, it's just a slow connection. I'll do it in the office, and it still did not work. But a couple weeks ago, I had pulled the number of fiscal year 25 purchase orders, and it was over 8,000 purchase orders and over $150 million that were spent through our purchase orders alone. So I think they're doing a great job, and I just want to give all of the purchasing department, the finance department, the accounting clerks, the registrars, all of the staff, IS&T, kudos and applause for the things they do to help keep us in compliance as well.
Thank you, Ms. Mock. Anything further? All those in favor? Oh, Dr. Finch?
It's just it's Arizona Procurement Month, so we just want to thank Heather and her team as well. I think you have a good point there about it wouldn't be nice if we had a perfect audit. Well, it turns out they won't want a perfect audit, so they're going to keep digging until they find something. Right. They're like they're like the IRS. They're here to help.
This does require a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Mr. Botfeld?
I have one comment to make.
Okay.
First, thank you. Second, when you hear my chat at the end of this thing, you'll enjoy it.
And your vote, sir?
Your vote?
Your vote?
Aye, aye.
Aye, aye. Aye, Captain. Mrs. Fisher? Aye. Dr. Pack?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Simachek went off about 10 minutes
has
ago.
dropped.
So it is 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Are you ready for a call to the public?
Yes, if I can please have Aaron Arnold, Sam Casanova and Jeremy Nice approach the microphone. Please state your name and remember the admission given earlier.
Go ahead. Right on.
Microphone, Josh.
Hello? Okay.
There it is.
All right.
You got it.
We're good. All right. Hello, President Carver, board members, and Dr. Finch. My name is Aaron Arnold, and I'm a proud language arts teacher at the Barry Goldwater High School and the DVA site rep for our campus. I'm here tonight to speak preemptively about some concerns that have been voiced to me by our members as the NST bargaining committee and the board prepares to discuss raises over the coming weeks. I'd like to start with a simple question. If we want great teachers to stay in our classrooms, can they realistically afford to stay in our communities? Because across America and across the country, that question is becoming harder and harder to answer. In 2026, Gallup poll study of K through 12 teachers found that 21% say they struggle financially, while another 52 say they are only just getting by. The same study also found out about 1/3 of teachers work a second job, and many report that financial pressure makes them less likely to remain in the profession long term. The national data reflects the reality we see here in Arizona. According to the National Education Association's 2025 salary report, the average teacher salary in Arizona is about 60,000, ranking 29th in the nation and nearly $10,000 below the national average. At the same time, the cost of living in Phoenix area, especially housing, has risen significantly in the recent years, placing additional financial pressure on lower middle income households like teachers. Those pressures have real consequences for the professions. According to the ADA, the Arizona Department of Education's teacher retention study, only about 75% of teachers remain in the profession after their first 4 years, meaning roughly 1 in 4 teachers leave the classroom early in their careers. But statistics only tell part of the story. Not long ago after school, I was speaking with a colleague who had just finished a full day of teaching, grading, and helping students after class. Instead of going home to prepare for the next day's lesson, that teacher headed straight to their second job. Not because they wanted to, but because they needed to. Then the next morning, that same teacher was back in the classroom early, greeting their students with a smile and giving everything they had to those kids, even though they were running on fumes. That level of dedication is not unusual in our profession, and it's far more common than it should be. It's normal. But why should we accept this as the normal? Why should we make this the norm? In preparation for tonight, I also collected several letters from our proud Goldwater teachers that I've shared with you this evening. These letters reflect the real experiences of educators in our district and the financial pressures many of them are navigating while continuing to serve our students every day. And here's a sentence I hope that you take very seriously tonight. Across Arizona, we're not losing teachers because they stop caring about students. We're losing teachers because they can't afford to stay in the profession they love. Teachers stay in this work because they believe in students. They believe in public education. They believe in the district. They believe in their... Oh, all right. Thank you.
Yeah. President Carver, Dr. Finch, and board members, and everyone else here tonight. My name's Sam Casanova, teacher Casanova in the classroom, and I'm a third-year math teacher at Barry Goldwater High School. I'm speaking to you today on the matter of teacher raises, and I wanted to share some of my thoughts and experiences. To put it simply, I believe that teachers deserve a raise. But to help illustrate my position, I want to focus on just one small portion of my workday, my 57-minute prep period. In these 57 minutes, I am expected to plan for 3 different classes, 2 of which I've never taught, and 1 of which is a SPED class I am not certified for, while meeting my IEP 504 and EL accommodations and requirements. I'm also expected to contact parents of failing students, even when the contact information provided is outdated. And even when the lowest possible grade I can give to a student is a 49%. I'm also asked to grade 3 different subjects, all different levels, and enter in those grades. And remember, even if a student didn't turn it in, they still earn a 49%. And those grades, well, I need to organize and interpret that data to plan differentiated intervention activities by Friday, every single week. And don't forget, I need to do that for 3 different subjects. By the way, it turns out a worksheet isn't very engaging. I agree. So I have to create engaging activities to make this worthwhile. That's what I'm here to do. Math teacher here, so another way to frame this more concretely. If I gave each of these responsibilities just 5 minutes to plan, accommodate, grade, contact, and make it engaging 3 times over, that's already 75 minutes of work. I have 57. So I have 2 choices: do my job within contract time at a lower level quality that fails one or more of the requirements, or work outside of my contract hours without pay. I started teaching 3 years ago. I received highly effective last year, my 2nd year teaching, and I'm already starting to feel that burnout in year 3. My goal has always been to share knowledge and to teach. Humor, hope, and humility is my policy. But nowadays, a lot of the requirements that I'm faced with feel like death by 1,000 paper cuts, with the final one being the $1,137 deposited every 2 weeks. When teachers are stretched this thin, students don't get the time, the feedback, and the support they deserve. And even if we imagine the best case scenario, you've done the impossible, you've completed your to-do list, your requirements. Now go teach for the next 6 hours.
Hello, Jeremy Neese, Barry Goldwater math teacher for 6 years. When I first got out of ASU with a teaching certificate, I proudly put on my resume that I had a bachelor's of science in psychology and a bachelor's of science in mathematics. At one of my first interviews with another school, I had an interviewer ask me why I would be a teacher if I could do anything else with my math degree. I thought that was an odd question, and I responded that I love teaching, and I think every student deserves to have a teacher who is as passionate as I am about mathematics. However, that question has stuck with me, and I regret to say that in my darkest hours, I ask myself that same question and always arrive at the same answer. However, this year has been my most challenging yet. Last May, my fiance and I bought our first house. Things were going well until in November, my fiance and I caught a bad strain of COVID. While I recovered, my fiance developed frightening consequences. She had difficulty swallowing and lost her ability to eat solid food. By the end of December, she had lost 20 pounds, 5 foot, 90 pounds. After 3 hospital visits, she has finally been treated and is on the road to recovery. But the road is a long one, and there's another problem. She is on full medical leave of absence, and that leave is unpaid. If not for the generosity of my family, our families, I would be the sole financier for our lifestyle and our new home. After all of the expenses for the house alone, that's mortgage, electricity, water, other utilities, alone, I would be left with only $600 for food, gas, insurance, phone bills, medical bills, contributing to a retirement account that I need to retire comfortably, and so on and so forth. One might say I need to tighten the belt and pull myself up by my bootstraps. But to use that term properly would be to refer to something that is impossible. These are the dark times when I ask myself, why am I not a software engineer, or an actuarial scientist, or a statistician, and have my peace of mind? But my answer is the same. I love teaching. If you would tell me that I knew that I was getting into this, that I knew what I was getting into, I would ask you, why should I be punished for choosing to be a teacher? Thank you.
Governing Board reports. Dr. Peck.
Sorry, I'm a teacher. Take a minute to process that. So I had the pleasure of attending, as we mentioned earlier, the National School Board Teachers recognition, and it's very moving, and it's just exciting, and I'm so thrilled that our district promotes it, and we're going to be number one next soon. We are. So thank you again to everybody involved and all the teachers that worked really hard on this. All teachers deserve a raise. These guys worked really hard. Everybody deserves extra round of applause for that. I did my ASBA homework, which is taking time to look at everything line by line. I think that's important, especially since I'm the delegate, but we all need to do our homework. I've reviewed lots of vouchers, and I'm sure Ms. Mock, if I kept totals, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like a lot of vouchers, a lot of transactions in our big district. I will share some fun facts. We spent $21,000 in Mandarin cranberry soap, so wash your hands, kids. And also, I thought my electric bill was a lot. The electric bill I signed a voucher for was $292,000. So close the doors, kids. Don't let the air out of the classroom. I always review all the board updates, even when we don't have a meeting. I open every single attachment and just read everything, because that's what I do. And of course, even for tonight's meeting, I re-reviewed things. And so I will keep doing that, because I think that's important as a board member, that we all take the time to do our job as best as we can, even if it's not paid, because it's important for the kids, the district, the teachers, the staff, the machine. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Pack. Mr. Bodfeld.
When I was in the 6th grade, I had a teacher named Mrs. Ruskin, and she used to recite good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better best. So this session of my talk will be called Good, Better, Best. Let's start with the good. There are 2 musicals coming up on the 26th, 27th, and 28th. One's at Deer Valley High School. It's called Newsies. The other's at Boulder Creek. It's called Six, the Teen Edition. Now, both of them have 6 p.m. shows on those 3 nights, but Boulder Creek also has an 11 a.m. on Saturday, and Deer Valley has a 1 p.m. on Saturday. You should go to both. I don't know how many of you saw this. I don't know if you can read it, but I'll read it to you. It's the Foothills Focus, and the headline reads, Deer Valley Unified Shines in State Audit. This is the best. And I'll read you just a short section of it. According to the new Arizona Auditor General's report, for the 3rd consecutive year, the statewide instructional spending percentage, ISP, has fallen to its lowest percentage since we began monitoring in 2001. It decreased by 0.5 of a percentage point to just 52.1%. But at DVUSD, the instructional spending percentage increased to 59.7%, a solid 15% above the state average. Congratulations to the people who do the money. By the way, nearly 3/4 of DVUSD spending goes to classrooms, including 60% going to instruction. That's really important. Regarding the teachers who just spoke, I agree with you totally. And as far as the best is concerned, it isn't me.
Don't sell yourself short, Mr. Bodfeld. Mrs. Fisher. No report? Okay. So since we all met last time, I was able to participate in a program that was started, I want to say a couple of years ago, with staff throughout the district, primarily with the association, and it's affectionately called the Board Buddies. And a bunch of them get together and decide which board member they want to victimize individually, and then we meet and discuss ideas and concerns, things that they see, things that they think, things that they feel, and kind of pick my brain and see what it is that I've got to contribute and how it is we might be able to handle common challenges together. And it was really nice. I think we spent about an hour on the Zoom, and I only know that because our free 40 minutes expired and we had to initiate a new call. But it was good. It's always good to visit. That speaks to why I try to spend so much time on the campuses, because we really don't know what's going on unless we're on the campuses. And that's my constant plea to the community and anybody that's always listening to these meetings. If you ever have an opportunity, go volunteer on a campus. Go ask for a tour of the campus. Go watch some of these sporting events, some of these plays. Also, Mamma Mia is going to be happening at Barry Goldwater, I believe, next week. So there's no shortage of top-notch entertainment here in the district. So get out into the district, get out into the community, and go experience some of the awesomeness that is DVUSD. And on that note, I was able to visit, I believe it was 6 campuses this last time for the what's become a monthly snack attack with my previous board peer, Miss Ann Wardway. For those of you that aren't aware of what that is, I'm fortunate enough to be able to have some contacts in the Valley that give us some sweet treats. And we get together, her and I, and we go visit some campuses and fill up the teacher's lounge with these goodies. And we were able to go to Desert Sage, Las Brisas, Inspiration Mountain, Stetson, and I believe Norterra Canyon and Sonoran Foothills, if I recall correctly. And everybody's always so excited to see us. You wouldn't think something just so simple as some afternoon snacks would get such a reaction. But I tell you what, it's the little things in life, and it's really great to be able to do something like that. So if you're out in the community and you think that you have something that you can impart with some staff at your local campus, please do. Buy pizzas one day, or just go by and say hi. Go read to the kindergartners. I was able to stop by Sunrise Elementary for their Head Start picnic. They have a family picnic every year. It was a little bit earlier this year because it's been getting so toasty. So what happened this year? It got toasty early. But they had a fire truck on hand, hosing the kids down. They had a bubble machine, the kind I had never seen before. I mean, this sucker was stacking bubbles up 4 feet deep, and we were losing kids in them, but they were having a great time. They'd go through the bubbles, get all clean, go see the fire truck, and get washed off. So it was good fun. But they usually have in excess of over 400 families show up. There's a feed there for the families. That's slang for making sure that everybody got dinner. They have gifts that they give to all the kids that come. They have sign up for any families that can take advantage of Head Start that isn't currently in it. And it's a beautiful thing. And for those of you that are finance minded, that comes at not the expense of the district, but through the Head Start program, which is not funded through the district. It comes through government grants. And Ms. Zink does a great, Ms. Zeke does a good job of making sure that we've got all the money that we need. Matter of fact, we just dropped another portable out there at Sunrise because there is such a demand for classroom space on that campus for Head Start that it's really taken off. And I was able to join the MBCT dinner with Dr. Pack and a couple of tables worth of folks from Deer Valley that were there to celebrate the amazing accomplishments of the folks that were being honored that night. And hopefully we can motivate some more folks to get involved in that so that we can just continue to help out the children and give them the best possible education. And with that, I'll hand it off to you, Dr. Finch.
All right, thank you. I do have a grocery list. I don't know if you looked at the calendar, but TikTok, we only have 8 weeks left of the school year. Pretty amazing. It goes so fast. We sprint to Christmas, and then we look out the window. We sprint down to spring break, and then it's over. And so I've been doing this a lot of years. It seems to get faster every year. I don't know why, but it does. If you didn't have the opportunity to, or hopefully you'll have the opportunity to rewind the tape and look at the awards ceremony that was for the meeting, I think we're well on our 70 state title march. Most of the awards today were around DECA from Mountain Ridge. But we also had a presentation from our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, so take a look at that. Pretty great experience that's been around for about 25 years in our district, and it's great to see the kids step up and become leaders. And I always appreciate the students standing up and making a difference. Last month, our communications department again won 15 awards. That was the highest number in our state. And so congratulations to the communications department, something we really do well here. I want to thank Marie Brennan again for our golf outing that went well last month as well. That brings in dollars for our foundation. So Marie's our director and does a nice job with that. The Read Across America was right before break there. And so if you don't get a chance to do that or you missed it, come find me and we'll get you in front of kids. You can read. I like to do that every year, and Sheila puts that funny Dr. Seuss hat on me every year, but the kids love it. And I usually give them cookies or something too. They like that. Our athletics is just finished the winter season. We had some teams go further than ever before, so that's been kind of neat to see. O'Connor girls were the runner-up in overtime and should have won it. Oh! And the Open, which is a new angle in our state. And Deer Valley boys, actually the O'Connor boys also went past the state title threshold into the Open and did really well. And the Deer Valley boys also were state runner-ups, and they'll be in front of us here one of these days to get a handshake from the board as well. Fine arts, something you want to write down is we have a huge fine arts showcase. It happens up at Anthem Outlets. It'll be the weekend of March 27th. And actually, the superintendent picks out 5 awards that we purchase, and the students will be in front of the board as well, recognizing their art. So make sure you go check that out. It's in the backside of Anthem there, the weekend of March 27th. As Ms. Simonchek was on the phone talking about legislature, that is in full swing. And the only tip that I would give to those that are listening and board members here as well, I've noticed a theme this lap, and it all is about taking away local control of the school board. So you as board members need to stay on top of that. Always look for the why. Why are they going after a specific district, and so they're putting the rules on everyone? Or are they trying to take away our control, local control? And that's really where we get our excellence. So when the state, larger government, continues to direct us and try to help us do our job, they often have unintended consequences that live with us for many years. And so keep an eye on legislation. If there's anything you want me to check in on or comment or contact legislators, let me know. I can do that. I'm involved in ASA and EFRG on their executive, and so I do that a lot. And tomorrow, I think it might be tomorrow, Eagle Walk at O'Connor High School for our national state champion POM team for the Eagles. If you want to go, I think it's around 9 o'clock, 9:30. Is it 9? 9:30. They'll have a fire truck, and I don't know if they're spraying the kids or not. I don't think so. I think they're riding the fire truck. But so if you want to see that. And also Ray Utter won the Copper Apple Award today from the Department of Ed and Project Momentum, which is growth. So good job. And for the staff that came and talked about affordable housing, that is one of the reasons why I think we need to get into that business for that very reason. Affordable housing in this zone is going up and up. So it'd be great if Deer Valley could get involved in that. That's my opinion. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Future governing board dates are on the district website, and I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.